Test 1 2. Test 1 2. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Preston Sports Podcast. I'm coming at you today on this beautiful Wednesday, the 23rd of June, and I'm actually going to do something a little different today. I was talking with Corbin from iTest Podcast, and I had no idea what I was going to do today. And I had talked to him, and he recommended talking about the role of like power running backs and third down running backs, kind of where the league is headed. And I got to thinking, I want to do this new series, and I'm going to call it Football Philosophy. So it's pretty much looking at over time from 1932 all the way till now, and I'm not going to go year by year, but I'll probably go like decade by decade, kind of look at it, see what the trends have been, and kind of just look at how football has changed throughout the years, because I think in the 2000s we're seeing a lot more pass-happy teams, rather in the beginning of the league we saw a lot more run-heavy teams. And I just figured that's something that interests me, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the response is. Hopefully it's good, because this is actually something that I'm pretty excited to do. I'll probably do it anyways, just because it's my channel. I can do whatever I want. Before I do that, don't forget to like, subscribe, tap the notification bell. I'm not punching anymore. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So I don't know whether I should start in the 2000s or go all the way down. I'll start at the beginning. So the league, I forget if it was the NFL or the AFL at this time, but so in 1932 the 8 teams. Here, let me actually just make sure I have the. So one thing I noticed, pretty insanely actually, is the completion percentage goes down a lot over time. You look at it through 8 teams. There was only 1,044 passing attempts. Let me double check how many games were in the 1932 NFL season, because that's important. 1932 NFL season, because that is important as to how many attempts there are, because it would obviously. So 1932, where would it say? Wikipedia. Yes, I love Wikipedia. Oh, it was the 13th regular season? So that's as far as my statistics go. I thought 32 seemed a little late. I'm pretty sure it was 18, right? 1918. But I only have stats up to 1918. So it looks like there were 13 games. Oh, maybe 7 games? I don't know. There weren't a lot of games. There wasn't 16 like we have now. NFL standings, I'll take that. Yeah, so it looks like there were. Oh, that's interesting. Some teams had more games. You look at the Packers, they were 10-3-1, so they played 14 games. The consensus, though, looks to be 8 to 9 games. Wait. The Bears had 6 tie games. Okay, so let's add that up. 8 plus 6, 14. So I stand corrected. It's 14 games, it looks like. 12 to 14 games. So you look at that compared to the passing stats. I'm looking at a 35% completion percentage. So not a lot, but only 1,000 passing attempts. And pretty quickly from 32 to 33, you see that number go from just over 1,000 to over 1,600, and it stays there. And then we're sticking around the 2000s as we go throughout the 40s, and then there's a massive jump from... It leaps exponentially. You're staying around... I'm looking at 1,700 to 2,200. And then in 47, you go from 23 to 2,900. The next 2 years being 48 and 49, you're looking at 31 to 3,200. And then you go up to 4,000, and you stick around that. You go up to 5,061. And as we go throughout the years, you're seeing the completion percentage gradually go up. It broke 40 for the first time in 1938, and it was staying above 40 for a long time. You see it go above 50 for the first time in 1954. And then it kind of hovers between upper 40s, lower 50s for a while. And as far as touchdowns go, there was only 42 touchdowns, passing, I should say, in 1932. And then those go up pretty quickly. You see them go, like, it only takes 8 years to get to 100, and then you're staying at above 100. In 48, it goes up to 196. Breaks 200 for the first time just 2 years after in 1950. Going into the early 60s all the way to the early 90s, so about those 30 years, you're looking at, they're starting to get up to 3,000 completions over 5,000 attempts, so we're starting to get up to the 50s for the completion percentages. 300 touchdowns, which is going up quite a bit. Interceptions is something that I want to look at. So there's a good amount of interceptions. Actually, in 1962, there was more interceptions than touchdowns. Is that something that's in the earlier from 32 to 61, that group? That's actually a very common thing. For example, in 1961, there were 285 touchdowns to 332 interceptions, which is crazy. The interception percentage is a whole percentage number higher than the touchdown percentage, which is insane. 343 interceptions to only 220 touchdowns in 1950. So you're seeing a lot of not great quarterback play, and I don't know if that has to do with defenses at the time being really good, but it can't be, because you listen to people talk about like Jim Brown and Bears. They're like, if they played in the Days League, they wouldn't be as good because the defenses were bad. So you're just looking at quarterbacks who just weren't it, or maybe receivers were also not great. But this was very much a ground and pound type football. You can tell that pretty easily from all the passing stats. I don't want to spend too much time on the earlier years. I'll talk about it a little bit just because it's interesting to see how different the numbers are from what we expect from quarterbacks today. But yeah, it's crazy. The interceptions start to go down a good amount. It looks like, the interceptions obviously get higher, but the percentage goes down a good amount starting in, it looks like, the 80s. You're looking at it's like 5%, 4%, and then starts working down to the lower 4s, getting to the 3s, which is good, which was overall good for the NFL. Excuse me. You're looking at almost 100,000 passing yards per season. Whoa, that's interesting. So in the early 80s, you're looking at 1980, there was 87,000, 91,000, and then you go to 1982, you go from, which looked like just to be a major recession in passing. 1982, the completion percentage is 56, which is actually higher than it is years prior. But you go from what was 91,000 yards passing the year before to only 50,000 passing. You go from almost 600 touchdowns to 320. The interceptions do also go down, but there is more interceptions. That actually seems to be a common thing throughout all of this, is more interceptions than touchdowns. We'll see how it looks going into the early 90s up to the 2000s. But yeah, it looks like going into the 90s is when passing started. The yards kind of went down, but you're seeing the percentage get up to 56 and 57.4. Touchdown and interception percentage, you can starting to get similar, and that's actually really impressive. In the 1990, it was 4.3 to 3.6, so they had gotten the interception and touchdown percentage kind of close to where it is today. We'll start looking at the early 90s. I'm having a lot of fun looking at this, actually. So we're still looking at 57% completion percentage, but you look at touchdowns. There's barely more interceptions, a 3.8 touchdown percentage to a 3.9 interception percentage, and that number drops drastically after 1992. It goes from 3.9 to 3.3 in 93. And then after that, I'm looking at 3.1, 3.1, 3.4, 3, 3.3. Dang, that's absolutely crazy. Passing yards continue to go up. Completion percentage continues to go up. Attempts is really going up. So compared to the 1932, where there were 1,000 attempts, we now go to 1992. So 60 years later, we're at 13,408 attempts, which is insane in just 60 years. I know I say just 60 years like it's not long. And I guess in terms of the NFL, 60 years isn't that long. What if can I go to the AFL and will it show me before 1932? So we're looking at the 60 through 68. Was it my knowledge of what? Okay, here we go. Okay, 1920, 1921. Let's see. Dang. It's crazy. I don't have stats for yards or completions or attempts or anything like that, which is fine. Asking almost 100 years back to keep accurate stats is quite a lot. Ooh, one thing I do want to go back down and look at is average drives. They actually don't have that past what looks to be 1998. But we can start at 98. So it looks like plays per drive has gone up too. Yards per drive and points per drive have gone up. In 1998, which is the earliest year where these stats were accessible, they were averaging 5.4 plays per drive, 26.5 yards, and 1.63 points per drive, as well as, was that first down? Oh no, that's my bad. On an average of 30.4 drives per game, and 14% of them ended in offensive turnover. Interesting. Which has also gone down about 3% in the past 22 years. But you look at where we are now. Is this a score percentage? Yeah, so 30% of them ended in a score, and then there were 11 drives per game. I think I might have messed that up earlier. So now, in 2020, the most recent season, they were averaging about 11 drives per game. So that stayed about the same. Instead of 30.4 percentage of drives ending up in an offensive score, so field goal or a touchdown, it's almost a 39.8. Turnover percentage went down from 14.1 to 11.4. Average plays is up from 5.4 to 6.09. Net yards per drive is up from 26.5 to 32.9, so just about 33. And points per drive is up by 0.6 from 1.63 to 2.20. I'm enjoying this. So pretty much everything that's happening here. And as we get to, I'll start at 2010. You look at the completion percentage. Let me see. Yeah, let me get the completion percentage. Is this different than the one I had earlier? I think it is. Sorry. Let's go back to this. Okay, passing specifically. So completion percentage at this point in the NFL, you're looking at about league-wide 65, which going back to 1932 when it was 35, increased by 60% increased by 30%. The average passing yards per game, I believe that is. Yards gained passing and sack yardage is deduct. So you're looking at 240 a game as opposed to, what is that? Oh, it doesn't show me that for the earlier years. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Oh, I might be Am I missing something here? This might... Oh, it might be... There's no way that's what it means. There's no way it's 200,000. That can't be what they mean, right? That might be what they mean, because it's showing as... So, oh, okay. There's two different charts. I'm just stupid. So yeah, you're looking at almost 4,000 yards. Okay, I'm still confused. I'm just stupid, I guess. It's okay, so it must be an average of 3,842. I'm getting it. An average of 3,482 as opposed to the average of, what's that, 5,000? Or, it can't be. This graph is kind of confusing. I'm on Pro Football Reference, NFL season by season passing. But it looks like an average of 240 passing yards per game. Yeah, and the completion percentage is up to 65. Touchdown percentage is up to 4.8, while interception percentage is down to 2.2. Let's go to that other chart so I can see the number of touchdowns. I might just be stupid here, which is entirely possible. Can't complain about being stupid. It's a nice life to live. Is it this one that shows me? Well, yeah. All of that being said, we live in a very, very pass-happy league right now. To the point where it's absolutely insane. Oh, there, I got it. So there were 871 passing touchdowns this year, as opposed to 32 when there was 42 passing touchdowns. So according to my math, it's a good amount more. And then interceptions, there were almost 400 this year. So, league needs... No, but that's really good. Especially when you look at the 18,000 attempts for only almost 400 to be interceptions. There's still like... It's a 2.2 percentage interceptions. So 2.2% of the passes that were thrown were interceptions. Not bad. QBR, or quarterback rating, 93. Well, oh, dude, I want to see so bad. 27. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to understand that we're getting to a very pass first, run second league. And even the quarterback types, you're seeing more people now. Like 20 years ago, it was the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys and the Drew Brees, the people who were just pocket passers. You get some good edge protectors, you get a solid interior offensive line, you have them drop back 3 to 5 yards and just throw the ball. Now we're starting to get to more Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray and Lamar are kind of different, but Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, people who they're mobile, and some are more mobile than others. You look at Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. In my opinion, if Kyler Murray can get some really good coaching, Kyler Murray has potential to be the best quarterback in the league. He has the arm of he has a top 5 arm in terms of power in the league, but he also has the agility and the mobility of a Lamar Jackson. Obviously not to the same level, but he's probably the number 2 as far as mobile quarterbacks go. And that's kind of what the league is now. And even as far as rushing goes, your quarterbacks are they're not expected to have thousands of yards, but they're expected to be able, if the pocket's collapsing, they're expected to roll out to the right, roll out to the left. If it's there, choose your lane and just get some chunk yardage. 5 to 10 yards is what you're expected to get if that yardage is there as a quarterback. Now, granted, you probably won't see Tom Brady running it, or you probably won't see, who else? Aaron Rodgers, you won't see design plays for him to run. But, you see that from Baltimore and Arizona, and you see Cleveland do it once or twice. You see, you probably won't see the Chargers do it, but you'll see that from maybe Chicago with Justin Fields. You'll probably see it with San Fran from Trey Lance. The mobile or the dual threat quarterbacks are becoming more and more of a necessity, not necessarily a necessity, but an advantageous chess piece in the league right now. And it's not the day of my quarterback is pretty much just the middle guy between the center and the running back. And I'll probably talk about running backs next Wednesday because I think that's a crazy position. And I'll involve fullbacks in with running backs because they've been murdered to the point where they have to. But yeah, passing in the league, that's just what it's about. And the Chiefs I won't say the Chiefs led it, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs and the Bills, I would say, they just don't run a lot. You look at teams like Baltimore and Cleveland and San Francisco, they like to run the ball still. They're not afraid to get physical and run the ball. But teams like Pittsburgh, hopefully, they're trying to be able to run the ball more. But they weren't really running the ball last year. The Bills, the Bills had something like 0 rushing attempts in the first half of a playoff game, which is insane. Playoff games is where you want to run the ball. But, I encourage everyone, because I kind of just went over some stuff that stuck out to me. But if this is, obviously, if you're not if you're just a casual football fan, you probably won't be as interested in this as I am. But look at over time, and it took me a while to figure out, but there's different graphs. So there's totals, so total yards from 1932 all the way up to 2020. And then there's also stuff let me scroll up a bit. My computer's being slow with me right now. That's okay, though. But yeah, so there's seasonal averages and stuff like that as far as passing yards, or you can get the totals. It's really interesting to look at the gradual change over time. Because it wasn't just in 2005, they're all right, now we're just going to pass the ball a bunch. And I'll talk about it later, but defenses are starting to mirror that. And so I'm predicting within the next 20 years, you'll kind of see a shift back to, and you're seeing it with Tennessee, and you're seeing it with Cleveland, and a little bit with Baltimore. You might see a shift back to some of that, hey, we're just going to run the ball down your throat. Because you look at the linebackers, they're becoming lighter and lighter, and so less equipped to stop the run. You're seeing more pass rush orientated interior defensive linemen. You're talking about your Larry Ogunjobis. Most of the defensive tackles are pretty good at both. Chris Jones is kind of more pass rush orientated. He can still stop the run okay, but he's more pass rush orientated. So I think you'll start to see, that's why power backs are still a thing. Not a lot of them are starters, but you have your Kalen Ballage, your Wayne Gallman, not Marshawn Lattimore. Who's the backup for the Saints? Oh, I'm so dumb. Latavius Murray, that's his name. You have your Latavius Murrays. You have people specifically built to just run the ball. And that doesn't mean you really don't want to do it with Alvin Kamara, but that doesn't mean you can't do it with, say, Christian McCaffrey. But you don't want to because that just increases injury risk. That's why the power backs aren't starters, because you just have to be built to run and get 4 to 5 yards in between the tackles, in between the guards. So that's more of a rotational position where you can draft it every couple of years and you'll be fine. You don't have to extend those guys. But yeah, I encourage you, look at these stats for yourself. They're really interesting. I had fun looking at them. In all honesty, I probably seem unprepared because I am. I just kind of pulled up this and started looking at it and recording. I'll definitely be more prepared for running backs. I love the running back position. Be back on Friday with Fix 'em Up Friday. I decided to do the Jets. I've been working on that for about a week now, so hopefully that comes out good. hope you guys have a nice day. Drink water. It's hot outside. Don't forget, like, subscribe, tap the notification bell, and I will talk to you guys on Friday. Peace out.